All right, welcome back to another episode of Chit Chat and Chill. We are going to be talking about the events that happened yesterday at the Capitol. There's a lot went on, a lot of stuff to dissect. What we're going to try to do is talk about a couple different things. One is the question of race and how did race impact the way that both the media covered everything and then also how the police handled the situation. We're going to be talking about, was it an actual insurrection? Was it terrorism? How was it just a protest? How people feel about that? And again, the difference in coverage from the media and people in general, from what happened yesterday at the Capitol to what happened over the summer with the Capitol being taken over twice in the past 2 years, and how the media covered that, plus how they covered the other, all the other riots and looting and protesting that happened. And one thing that I think a lot of people are missing is why people were there marching in the first place. I think that got lost, and I think a lot of people are not understanding the reason why. So I want to discuss that, and the power that social media and politicians have now more than ever. And another topic was what's Trump going to do in the last 2 weeks? Is that something we need to be discussing? Is something we're worried about? Obviously, during discussion, some more topics may come into place. And I'm guessing this is going to be a pretty heated discussion at times. So with that, the one I think we should start with the race one. And the reason why this one was important to me is because as soon as it started happening, we have, like a lot of people, we have our little group chat. And the first thing that popped in with everybody was all about race. It wasn't the reason why or anything was happening. And it kind of, I was like, how is that the most important thing going on? Was how is this being handled? So with that, Aaron, Ant, what do you guys want to jump in and talk about your point of view from the race perspective?
I'll jump in. I'll start that off. Um, Even within the group, with that saying, when we start talking about that, if you, I understand the point you made in the chat, which was, when all this stuff happened over the summer, they were burning stuff down and everything else. But in the midst of all the rioting and looting and protesting over the summer, you did see rubber bullets and tear gas and police in full riot gear. Um, Even they were dressed like this, even in the midst when people were just simply protesting. They had full riot gear on. Whereas yesterday, it was it looked like they were just the police were just regularly uniform. Like there was no concern or um anticipation that this could go left at all. Like they like even though this was planned, this wasn't a spur of the moment thing. It wasn't handled the same, where when all these Black Lives Matter things happened over the summer.
Okay, cool. You can't help but notice race in this situation. Um, Immediately I noticed race. I'm like, man, there's some black people. You know for a fact they the like it's you just can't help but notice race. Like, let's be honest. If that was a group of black people storming the Capitol, we know what would have happened. This one, they climbing the walls, they breaking windows, and cops just regular like they patrolling the streets. So I mean, it makes you feel some type of way. It's like, dang, if this was like people always say that if that was us, people wouldn't have got that far.
All right. So my rebuttal to that is a couple things. One is, on the first day of the protests, they turned violent. The second day and the later in the night is when the police showed up with the riot gear. That's when all that was happening. So when it was first happening, and whenever you anticipate something, it's up to the local authorities to be prepared, to call in the National Guard to make sure they're prepared for that. The state police were asked by the federal government do you want support? They said no. Why did the state police and the Capitol Police, and the videos are out there telling them, go ahead. They stepped to the side and let them go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So why doesn't that pop into anybody's head and say, why are they doing that? It's for a reason. They could have been prepared. They could have had the National Guard up there. They chose not to because they wanted to create this whole thing. Now, so that was okay. So, and the whole thing with the whole race, white lady, she was a 12-year veteran in the Air Force. She got shot and killed. Nobody even knew about it. I posted it in the chat and everybody's like, what are you talking about? There was no coverage of that. There was no coverage of that at all. Till this day, there's minimal coverage of that. They're saying, well, 4 people got killed. There's no specific person. They're not calling her out for anything. They're not defending her in any way. There was this whole violence when the people, yes, they broke the window. Yes, they went in there. Where was the mass violence towards anybody? There wasn't any. So when you talk about what's the difference on how they're handling a situation, when you're burning down a city, and remember, and I also posted the pictures of what DC looked like over the summer, in flames, toppling statues, burning down buildings, burning down businesses, torching cars, taking over police stations. And to say that there was no the rubber bullets and the mace, they were used yesterday too. It was intentionally not covered, but they use all the same stuff. The pictures at the state capitol, come on, that doesn't look funny. They're waving people through. Yeah, go ahead. So I think there was a complete difference when you've seen groups of people all over the summer do way worse than they did yesterday. Way worse. How many were shot and killed by the police? Yesterday, one was.
So when you posted the comment yesterday about the lady, I had heard about it, but my response to you was I didn't know what side she was on. So before I express sympathy for somebody's life being lost, I need to know what side she was on.
What does that mean?
And you're okay, because you're making that face. When you run into a building, a federal building, and a part of a riot, an act of terrorism, and you get killed, that's on you.
Okay, well that
and
I think
crazy too. Not that it's no so crazy. I've had a conversation with a lot of my friends, with my family, and they say, when they showed the lady, when they showed the lady get shot and killed, and they brought her out on the stretcher, a lot of people was like, and it's crazy you said side. So when you said side, it made me think about like, I know people that was just like, and it's crazy to say, I know some people that was just like, they was kind of like desensitized to it because they was thinking about like, well, I've been seeing my ancestors for 400, and this may be going to a different topic, that I've been seeing my ancestors for 400 years. And I've been seeing these pictures of slavery and all this other stuff. So now I see this person, and a lot of them, they were just like, she went in.
And it's horrible that somebody's life being lost because she made a choice that's not only affecting her, but it's also affecting her family. And if she has children, them as well. I'm not for the people who I've seen videos posted of her, and she, unfortunately, the videos they posted of her are unflattering, and people are just like, well, like just saying some really negative and inappropriate things, which I don't agree with.
So let me ask you a question. So because
I don't agree with it either.
You posted something. Go ahead, Tom.
No, I'm saying I don't agree with it either. It's just interesting when she said size. It made me think of people that are like, okay, it just happened. Like they like desensitized to, and they're like, okay, it just happened.
It's not decent.
It's bad that she lost her life. I do not condone that by any means of the imagination. It's just interesting because she said sides.
So this is what gets me. So she went into a federal building, and did nothing. I mean, she broke a window. She went into a federal building. So it's justified to kill her. But yet I see people quite often post and glorify criminals that get shot and killed and justify their actions, their criminal violent actions. And that's okay. But we're going to say, well, she's on a different side, and so she got what she deserved. But yet, didn't some people in the group just post, like, people are upset about Jacob Blake not getting, the police not getting prosecuted. He went in there, you know, sexually assaulted a woman who she had a protection order. He had a knife, broke the law, got shot, and people were mad that police didn't get charged for him. But then we're going to take a side. Do you see the difference in the? Is that just a bad comparison? Is there no difference when you're talking about choosing a side?
So sticking with that, because that particular, I've heard something different on that situation, but from my understanding, in that particular case, the police was called due to some kind of domestic, and he was there breaking up a fight.
No.
That's
the woman. The 911 call is out.
Okay.
The woman, where he was, she had protective order, and I believe that was his ex-girlfriend, mother of one of his or a couple of his kids. He went there, sexually assaulted her. He was not breaking up any fight. That's not true.
So even sticking with that, let's assume that's what happened. He got shot in the back walking away.
That's not true either. He got into his car. He was in his car reaching. He had a knife. He was reaching for a knife. But it doesn't.
He got shot in the back. Okay.
Okay, but again, so instead of getting into detail of that, this is what popped in my head when you said choosing sides. So now you're justifying a woman, an unarmed woman, getting killed for breaking a window and trespassing.
We don't know if she was unarmed.
Where was the weapon? You can see the video of her getting shot. The video
Okay,
Aaron, well, you can watch the whole entire video of her getting shot. She was unarmed. She did not she posed no threat to that officer that shot her. Zero. And the video is online, start to finish. So there's no question about it.
Because I saw a different video where the young man was doing a play-by-play of the situation, and they said, from what I saw, what the play-by-play this young man gave, unless he was talking about a different incident of a different woman getting shot, he said that she was warned to stand down.
Watch the video. Watch the video.
At the same time, like, if I hear stand down, they telling me to stop, and I'm keep going. Your natural reaction, like, everybody in that situation is scared. Like, everybody in that situation is scared, panicking for their lives. A lot of things are going on a different way. Like, let's just be honest. Like, a lot of different things, they panicking. Like, bro, like, for a fact, if you got your gun, somebody come near you, just like, everybody in that situation is scared. It's just a situation. It's just the unfortunate situation.
You're making the argument. You're now. Well, this is why I'm laughing. Is you're now making the argument every time there's a police shooting, and the police are telling somebody, "Stop! Don't come at me. Stop! Don't come at me." And the police shoot that person. Every single time it happens, and it's a black person, everybody's up in arms. But now that it's a white woman, everybody's trying to justify it.
That's not true.
It just happened. That's exactly what he just did.
That's not true, because remember that video somebody posted in the group where that black lady went and slapped that officer? None of us would have been surprised if she got her ass handed to her.
Yeah, that's true.
Because she literally went up and slapped the officer. But people aren't arguing when you have these people getting shot in the midst of committing a crime. You have people arguing when you are George Floyd or Breonna Taylor or Tamir Rice, or I don't even know the name of that black guy who got shot in his garage because the police pulled up and started shooting at him, not realizing it was his garage. So that also ties into our reality. And when I say our, I mean Black people. Well, when we say it couldn't be us, that's a different kind of experience. And I will grant you that maybe, I don't think in this case particularly, but maybe there are times where race is assumed quickly, or but it's in experiences we have had as individuals and a collective, that we could not do things that white people can do.
Can I ask you a question? Has a group of Black people with heavily armed, way more heavily armed than yesterday, ever taken over a Capitol?
Not that I know of.
Black Panthers did it.
And look what the government did to them.
But
Unless
what
you don't
happened that
believe
day?
it.
No.
Unless
But
you don't believe it.
what happened that day? Did anybody get shot and killed?
No.
Okay, so then to say it can't be us, it's not going to be us, we can't do it, is a flat out lie, because it's already been done.
No, it's not, because
But
look how they
it's
look.
a different day and age though. Like they wouldn't have, man, they would have.
But it happened, right? So that's what I'm saying, is you can't say it can't happen when it's already happened.
But then if you see, you don't want to, then when you start going back that far, which you don't want to do, because then we talk about all the other peaceful protests where white police then
I'm not
bombed
disputing
and
that.
set off. Okay, so
I'm not
that's
disputing
like,
that, but I'm saying
don't-
is you can't say it can't happen when it already happened. It's already happened.
right.
So you
But
can't say it can't happen.
the punishment with that was a whole different kind of justice
Okay,
at the end of that, though.
that's fine. But that's fine. But don't say it can't happen when it's already happened. I understand what you're saying, the before and after, right? What happened before and the after effect. I get that. But you can't say that they can't storm it without getting shot and slaughtered right there, because it's already been done.
Okay, so then that once again goes back to, since you're going that far, says why Black people feel like it can't be us. Because when they did march peacefully and they did protest peacefully, it never worked out to their benefit.
Okay, so that's fine. All right, but so it's happened once before.
Okay.
When you talk about the race, we watched complete destruction of cities, burned to the ground, neighborhoods, buildings, cars, everything just burnt down with impunity. None of those people got held accountable. None of them. They created funds to bail all those people out of jail that got caught burning down and terrorizing all of these cities over the past summer. How many of those were killed by police?
We
None.
don't know.
I think the thing is, like, if that was a group of Black people, like, that rushed and that acted according to how they acted, we know what would have happened. The reason I think what Aaron is saying is that it happened before. They telling Black people, like, listen, don't y'all ever try that again. Or y'all know we got rid of that group, we'll get rid of this group, but we'll do it a little bit different. And we will find justification for it, like they did for a lot of these innocent shootings.
So, well, I don't know how many of those were innocent shootings, but so that aspect, yeah, I understand where you guys are coming from.
I mean, like these, you know what I'm saying? Like these shootings that go on,
I got you. No, so that aspect, I understand where you're coming from. So where it's like, okay, the after effect, what's the after effect going to be, and then how people are going to get targeted. Okay, that I understand where you're coming from, but that the initial concept, or when it was initially happening, everybody's talking about. My take on it, right? So my take, when everybody's talking about, well, it can't be us, we can't do it, they're only doing it because they're white or whatever, and they're getting away with it. My original thought was, wait a minute, it's happened before, and at the time, nothing happened to anybody. And we saw everything happen during the summer, where they were taking over not just Black people, the Antifa as well. The BLM and Antifa, they were taking over everything, destroying everything, and nothing happened to any of them.
So then I think that moves us actually into what insurrection is.
There you go.
And I don't know if we were specifically talking about terrorism, connecting that with terrorism.
Well, this is the word that you guys were using. It was
Terrorists.
domestic terrorism and insurrection,
Yes.
both of them. That's what you guys
Yes.
called it. So
Yes.
so go for it.
Can I read you the Weber's dictionary of what insurrection is?
Sure.
Okay. Hold on a second. Violence or the threat of violence used as a weapon or intimidation or coercion. Violent or destructive acts committed by groups in order to intimidate a population or government into granting their demands.
Okay.
Now, why was that specific? Because I know people are saying, oh, yesterday was Antifa too. But specifically, the demand, which goes back to that definition, was that people were concerned that the election was stolen from Trump. Trump's message, because he said at the beginning, was that he was trying to get Pence to overturn the vote to get the election sent back to the states. So when you have these group of people charge the Capitol on the day of the Electoral College certification, that looks like you are trying to coerce or intimidate or interrupt the voting of confirming Joe Biden.
So you're saying it's an insurrection not because of what they did, but the timing? Did I get that right?
Because of their message. Their message was right.
No, but I'm asking,
Right.
it's not what they did. You don't have a problem with what they did. You probably have a problem with when they did it.
No, I had they protested, I would not have had an issue. When you go into a government building with Congress in it, that's my issue.
So let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Was it insurrection when the Women's March did the exact same thing? When Kavanaugh got elected, or they went in and
armed?
did the same thing.
They were armed?
They weren't armed, but I didn't see that many people armed yesterday. They didn't need to be armed. They were let in. I saw some bats. I'm just telling you, I didn't see. To be honest with you, when you think about a Trump rally or a Trump gathering of people, they're more heavily armed. People didn't seem that armed to me. Again, I didn't scour all the footage. I'm sure there's more out there, but I didn't see a ton of heavily armed people.
Armed.
Again, people armed and in a heavily armed group is two completely different things. I'm armed whenever I leave the house. That doesn't mean I'm heavily armed. That doesn't mean the people I'm with are heavily armed. So that's what I'm saying. Again, I'm not saying that nobody was armed, but armed like where everybody was heavily armed. I didn't see any of that. Again, not saying it didn't happen. So, but again, so there was so you had no issues when that happened, or in Michigan or Wisconsin, I think in Minnesota as well, people stormed this is Black Lives Matters groups and Antifa stormed and took over Capitol buildings as well. Was that an insurrection?
Were they armed?
Yeah, some were armed. But again, the arming doesn't matter.
But what does it matter? Does matter because
Let me tell you why. The arming, how does whether or not you're armed, you can be armed and not be a danger to anybody. Correct?
It depends on the person, honestly, and that's
that's true. But that
discussion.
But again, go back before we get off topic. Go back to, was it insurrection when the women's march went in and took over? I think it was the Senate. I believe it was the Senate. I could be wrong. And then also when the left wing groups took over the state capitals over the summer, was that insurrection as well?
When they were armed, yes.
Okay. So then why was there never a call to condemn those groups and call and say they were insurrection? They're trying to take over. Why was there no outrage to this then? But you hear only this outrage now.
Did they were they scaling walls?
They broke in, they harassed. people were trying to, they had senators who were trying to get on elevators. They cornered several senators, wouldn't let them leave, were yelling at them, making threats at them. But that's okay.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Anthony.
No, you could. No, I'm just gonna say, did they tear up stuff? Did they break windows? Did they go in? Did they sit on the?
Why does it matter if you're
did any
it doesn't
security
matter.
officers die?
Get shot.
No, first of all, it doesn't matter. If that's what I'm saying is you're trying to find a fine line of what's allowable and what isn't. If you're saying going in and taking over a federal building is not allowed, then it doesn't matter how you did it. If you go in there and you occupy a federal building, then you're wrong. So you're trying to say, well, this group did a little bit more damage than this group, so it's not okay. And so this group, they did it more peacefully, so it's okay. Well, this people had a little bit more guns than this people, so it's okay. It's either right or it's wrong. There's no in between on this. So if you're saying, go ahead.
No. So basically, you saying take out the fact of that they was being violent, they tore stuff up, and look at the fact that they both had a point to make. They both had a stance that they were taking, and that they both rushed the house.
Yeah.
But if you can't take out the fact that they tore stuff up.
Okay, but
it's the way you do it, and that's the minute that you have some type of physical altercation and people got to get taken down and you tearing stuff up. That's when you can't take that part out. That's the part of the story. And it was
my question. So again, what is an insurrection then? If you're saying the takeover is the insurrection, so then why wasn't it insurrection before, when it happened earlier this year and it happened in 2018? Do you see what I'm saying? Don't take away anything. People are acting like they rushed this. They were heavily armed and they rushed and they bullied everybody. They were let in for the most part. Yeah, they did break down a couple of doors. Okay, I'm not justifying it. I'm not saying, but I'm saying when you're comparing it to other events that happened, and people are making this seem like this is the end of the world. Like, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened. So when does the insurrection? What's the difference between this? And why wasn't these other events called an insurrection? Just because some weapons, or because they destroyed some property? So every time they tore down any federal buildings, any federal statues, was that an insurrection? We watched how many monuments being torn down. We watched how many police stations taken over, how many federal buildings getting destroyed. Was that an insurrection? Nobody called it insurrection then, and that was way more violent and deadly than this.
It was deadly to who? How many police officers died then?
How many police officers died over the summer?
Yes.
There was a lot. Don't forget, you know who David Dorn is?
The black guy who with the LAPD?
No, he wasn't LA, St. Louis. No, I'm pretty sure he was St. Louis.
Was he the one that was a police officer?
Yeah, he was a retired police officer, went looking over his friend's pawn shop. Group of, 7 people came in, shot him, killed him. Okay, but this is my point. So how many police officers were ambushed and killed over the summer? How many times did we see? How many police cars did we see people destroying over the summer?
Oh, true, definitely true.
But that's not an insurrection. You can't pick and choose.
But I'm not saying. Hold on, I'm not saying those situations weren't insurrections. I'm saying what the difference was in between, because yes, had those black people or Black Lives Matter or Antifa, even though now everybody wants to say it's Antifa and take away from what these protests, right? What the point of it was.
It really is. You justifying it. You saying it's Antifa so you could take off the fact.
Nobody. When you have these verdicts come out for these trials, everybody starts off the same way. Just handle this peacefully. We know you're disappointed. Don't tear your own city up. Blah, 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 blah. Yes, we always had those conversations. But once again, and I guess that's where your point comes in as to why it's a different sympathy, I guess.
So go back to insurrection.
No. Wait, I'm not saying. even if the question was it insurrection? Was this particular incident insurrection? And it was. You now are saying, well, why wasn't the stuff over the summer an insurrection? And from that particular definition, it was. It was a lash out of government.
So that goes to my point. So why wasn't there when the Women's March did it and the media applauded, they applauded everything that happened this summer. When the women did in 2018, they were applauded. But now all of a sudden
I
when
think you jumping forward topics.
no, well, but you're probably right. But it goes to why all of a sudden people are calling this an insurrection when nobody cared before. Nobody said a word about insurrection when people have done it all summer. They've done it tons of the past 2 years. But the minute it's Trump supporters, insurrection, insurrection, insurrection.
No one
You don't see the difference?
and maybe because there's no, and like you said, maybe with the media bias, and the media has always had a bias. The media has always 100% been biased, but it didn't become fake news until Trump got into office. But that's a whole nother story. But once again, you can't, I guess, show me the news footage where you have black men walking into these police stations and these federal buildings with guns. Show me the footage where you have police officers, like you said, you have white officers ushering these white people in to a federal building. So show me the footage where you got black officers like, come on, homie, what's up, it don't happen. It don't happen.
I'll show you footage.
Okay.
I will send you footage. And if we're fair, if we look back at a lot of the stuff that I post, that shows some of that exactly that bit. But it all goes to who's in charge. Why, if they were so worried, why didn't they? Why and who's in charge of that? The mayor of DC, correct?
So see, her press conference earlier made it seem like she didn't necessarily have, like, she had an issue with how this all went down as far as the policing, because now she wants DC to be a state. She wants to take
everybody saw the writing on the wall.
She wants to take somebody's,
but
she made it seem like they didn't have the authority to call. She didn't have the authority to call in National Guard.
That's just not true. So this is my thing is everything that she's saying is she's just a liar. She had the authority to do it over the summer. She refused to do it over the summer. She had the authority to do it now. They were asked, and this is, and if you don't, I know this is from the AP article. This is from an AP article who half the article bashed Trump and his supporters, and the other was they were offered from two different agencies help to get it everything covered. She refused to help. They refused to help. So it's on them. So if they weren't prepared for it, I don't know how you're not prepared for it. Everybody knew that there was a rally happening on the 6th. How are you not prepared for it? That's on them.
Because it says she called for a congressional inquiry into security failures that enabled insurrection. So.
And why didn't she do this over the summer when her city was burning? Just to sum up the insurrection, if you're calling this an insurrection, do we really think if all of Trump and his supporters were going to do an actual insurrection, you really think it would have just been some whole bunch of weirdos posing for pictures? That's what it was. They broke. Half of them were ushered in. The other ones, they weren't. You saw the one video I posted where the police officers like stay back and they're moving forward. He just runs up the stairs. That doesn't seem staged. How magically somebody's there with the camera.
Oh yeah, no, that I agree with you. That one, no, I don't have an argument with you. That seemed a little pokey.
All of it. And so what damage? Yeah, they did some damage. You know me. I'm pretty much, for the most part, against violence unless it's in self-defense and damaging people's stuff. No reason for it. It's just stupid. So, but what was actually done as far as insurrection? Did they try to sit in there? Did they try to take over and occupy it? No. There was none of that. So this whole insurrection,
Did you say what
if it was
damage
gonna,
was actually done?
huh?
Did you say what damage was actually done?
No, I mean like what lasting damage, right? There was no, they weren't trying to sit in and take over the building and actually stay and occupy the building.
Somebody died.
Huh?
The security officer
If
died.
I see now that's been disputed because I heard today that
he didn't.
actually nobody did. No police officers were killed. Is the last thing I heard today. They reversed it. They pulled the Latanya Roberts and reversed if they're dead or not. So, but my point is, do you really think if Trump supporters were going to do something, don't you think they would have been a lot heavier armed and prepared to actually take over something versus going in there and you had a couple knuckleheads taking some pictures? That's my point. So if it was going to be an actual planned event where, okay, no, we're going to start taking over, it would have been done a little bit different. And I guarantee there would have been a lot more actual gunfire exchanged. That's my point.
I hear you, but I think there are people who are pawns and don't realize they are pawns. And just like you see the grandma in one of them pictures, just there. Of course, grandma didn't come to riot and protest and cause dismay. Grandma probably didn't know why she was there. But there are people, like you had a guy who's proudly holding up mail out of Nancy Pelosi's office. You don't know what information they got access to. We can't speak to that right now at this moment.
I mean,
And
we don't even speak about the information Fang Fang got.
who?
You don't know who Fang Fang is?
No.
The Chinese spy for the
Oh, is the
Eric
was she a
Swalwell?
girl? Was she the lady sleeping with all them rich
With
and
Eric
powerful
Swalwell,
people?
who's on the intelligence agency. But yeah,
They
okay.
make a movie out of her, something like that.
What?
I heard about her.
Yeah, so but
I mean, man, of course it was definitely some type of inside connect. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I do agree that it was an inside job, but I also feel like we just saw a 74-year-old man have a temper tantrum.